The head of the New York Police Union has had enough.
Stop treating us like animals and thugs, and start treating us with some respect.
This as officers across the country have been injured, some fatally, following protests about the death of George Floyd.
With these protests, which are leading to riots, one tragedy is only leading to another.
Some Americans are left feeling torn between supporting those protesting George Floyd's death and the systemic reform they're calling for and supporting police.
As human beings love to dichotomize. We love to see things in either or.
Dr. Lawrence Miller has worked for decades with police officers, studying the psychology behind community police relations. He observes growing support for the pro-police movement as working against those calling for racial equality.
All lives matter, blue lives matter. It's taking away from the message I think that Black citizens want to make, is that we want to be treated the same as everybody else.
While some feel like they have to pick a side, the sister of a federal officer killed near a protest in Oakland points out Black officers are being killed too.
Where is the outrage for a fallen officer that also happens to be African American?
Most recognize the road toward progress will be difficult and requires everyone to listen.
Number one, respect people's perception. You don't have to accept everything they say, but listen to what they're saying. And then ask, what is going to make you safe?
This cultural shift may start with new legislation on police practices. Democrats in Congress have come out with a version of bills while Republicans craft their own. Another instance requiring listening and compromise in order to get something done, but all sides calling for change. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nishar.
Be respectful of others. We've spread tables out. We've moved furniture so that when you're sitting down and dining around the common area, you're creating that distance.
That's Hugh Crawford, general manager of the Village at Meridian. He's helping to make sure that folks visiting his shopping center pose as little risk to themselves and others as possible during the pandemic. And one way to do that is by keeping the old rules in mind.
Businesses may be reopened here at the Village, but social distancing and health are still a priority. Customers can be seen wearing face masks at the restaurants, which are only operating at 50% capacity.
That distance is important, especially with more folks patronizing the Village. You might be tempted to downplay the virus after months of quarantine, but the danger is still very real. That's why the Village businesses here are changing how they operate.
Retailers are now adapting to that. And I've got retailers calling me asking for a curbside parking stall. How do their customers come and do quick customer pickup and delivery?
That's not to say you can't still have fun. Just make sure you're doing it in a responsible way.
We're giving them the tools and the reminders to stay safe. The businesses are taking it serious so you can feel safe when you're going into the stores. And if you don't feel quite like coming to the shopping center, the retailers have made and the restaurants have made accommodations for takeout and delivery.
Keep that in mind when deciding whether to go out. Idaho may be reopening for business, but that doesn't mean everything's back to normal. In Meridian, Trevor Fay, CBS 2 News.
An Idaho Public Charter School Commission cut short its virtual Zoom meeting after a rude interruption. CBS 2's Haley Kramer tells us what happened.
The State Board of Education says an unauthorized person accessed the meeting and displayed pornographic images. The commission chair apologized to all the participants and is working to reschedule the meeting. He says the Office of the Attorney General is aware of what happened. While they didn't elaborate, the commission is working to prevent this sort of thing from happening again. This definitely isn't the first time a virtual meeting has been what's known as Zoom bombed. Back in April, a group of Utah elementary school children were on a call with their school's principal when profanities and pornography were suddenly displayed. Zoom has been working to enhance their security as more and more people join the service. Just yesterday, the company posted a 90-day security plan progress report on their blog. A few suggestions to prevent Zoom bombing: use a unique ID for large or public Zoom calls, require a password, create a waiting room, and lock the meeting once all attendees are present. Haley Kramer, CBS 2 News.
Governor Brad Little again said today that the state and the federal government failed Idahoans by not getting their unemployment benefits to them in a timely manner. But the governor also said the state is on a pathway to have these issues all addressed in weeks, not months.
Yes, the state and federal government did fail. I readily admit that.
The governor said the seeds to that failure were planted at the beginning of the pandemic when the federal government, with good intentions, tasked already overwhelmed state labor departments to administer the new federal programs in addition to the state's own program, where claims are going from 1,000 a week to 30,000 a week.
It was overloaded, but Congress wanted to get this money out as fast as they could. Labor asked that it not be. They knew that all the state labor departments were going to be overridden, but they had to put it somewhere.
Little says Idaho is one of the few states that allows claimants to file online. But with the addition of the federal programs, the requirements to be checked out grew almost insurmountably.
We're one of the only states where everybody files online. And so the filing was easy. But the problem is there's all these there's 80 different issues that we have to address in some of these unemployment claims. I will tell you that we put people, we put training, we put hardware, we put software, we put a call center, we're changing rules, we're changing management.
And as the state enters the fourth and final stage of reopening, Governor Brad Little made a bold promise. He said that with the cooperation of all Idahoans, the Gem State would lead the nation and the world in the economic rebound from this staggering crisis. In Boise, Scott Logan, CBS 2 News.